Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whichever one it might be for you, really don't matter though, because guess what? At the end of the day is going to end. You're back trucking with Teddy. I'm currently in Rancho Cucamonga at the terminal doing a 34-hour reset. Chilling with my boy here, Tom.
Hey,
Nice to meet you. There's actually a coworker of mine, my first time meeting him, but he was kind enough to give me some insight as far as like his experience with trucking and whatnot. So let me ask you first off, so what made you get into trucking? Like what was your introduction to trucking?
I always wanted to do it. Family always took vacation every year. That's back when the truck drivers were still the knights of the highway. You always followed them because they knew where the good food was, they knew where the cops were, they knew where all the good places were to stop. And running like that, with your family, you kind of, that looks like fun.
You talking about paper map days?
Back when you
had
back when you had cab overs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when I got the first chance to do it, I worked for a chicken plant, and they need somebody just to fill in.
Yeah.
So they helped me get my CDL, and then they needed somebody to work vacations for the other drivers. And then I got on a chicken loader. I was a chicken loader, drive out, load chickens, drive back. Then I started hauling a lot of chickens, and I got tired of the mess. The chickens tend to make you a little dirty. And,
is this back when you had to have the CDL, or they had that? I think it was called a.
It was a chauffeur's license.
Chauffeur's license.
This was actually not long after the CDL started.
Okay.
But I had to get a CDL. They helped me get it.
And where was this? Where are you from? Like where was
North,
the chicken?
North Florida.
North Florida.
It used to be called Gold Kissed, and now I don't know what. They've been sold 2 or 3 times. So.
All right. So when did you officially get your CDL?
92.
So that's a lot of experience. You know, that's how come like I ask these questions. Like I like to meet people who have more experience than me because I can only tell you so much, but he can tell you a lot more than I can because like it's not just about my perspective. I'm doing this for you guys as well, and so yeah, like I really appreciate the opportunity again. By the way, Peter, let me ask you these questions and whatnot.
Sure.
So, what was your like? Take me through your trucking career, like as far as like first job, second job. Like was it always flatbed or drive in?
No. The chickens were on a flatbed, but it was, the same thing. Quick hookup. It wasn't tarp or anything like that. I went to a dry van company that was sort of like SPD. They were owned by a parent company, and I drove dry van, and then they got like what SPD is doing with Dasky, getting blended. All their companies got turned into one DOT number, and everybody was all part of the company. And then I bought my own truck with them, and drove for them 2 or 3 more years after. I was there almost 10 years.
Yeah.
The last 2 or 3 years I had my own truck, and then I got tired of because they were being sold again.
Yeah. Oh, so you did a lease purchase through them?
Well, it was an actual purchase. They financed it just like you would if you went to. They were the bank.
Gotcha.
So you couldn't turn it in. It would hurt your credit. They would turn you in just like you lost your truck at the bank. And then I moved to Landstar, but that didn't work out real well because as the other company was starting to lose freight, I started using more and more of my savings. When I transferred over to Landstar, they said it takes 6 months to a year to get enough broker. They basically have their in-house brokers.
Gotcha.
To get enough on their good list to where you start getting the really good paying loads. And I already started dwindling my savings down with the other company and transitioning over there. This wasn't for me. Owning my own truck, fuel prices were going up, no fuel surcharge back then.
Gotcha, yeah. So basically it's like the responsibilities of being an owner operator was basically like taking a toll on you.
Yeah. And then when I was the driver, I was the mechanic, I was the freight, I had to hunt my own freight, I was the tax guy. I was wearing 6 or 7 different hats, and it was 24/7. When you weren't driving, you were hunting freight, or you were working on the truck, or and it was too much.
Gotcha.
Back then. Now it's not quite as bad because you have fuel surcharge, but the freight rates now and the prices of fuel, I don't know how guys are making it.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. So what has changed in the trucking industry dramatically? Like outside of just like your personal experience with the company, like what have you seen going on with the trucking company in the, how many years have you been driving now, you said?
Since
93. 93?
Well, end of 94, I went over the road.
Yeah.
So,
you've been driving like 30 years.
Yeah, over the road 30 plus years.
30 plus years driving over the road.
In a couple more years, I'll have my 4 million mile.
God, 4 million miles, man.
And
I can't even fathom that right now.
more gray hair than I have now.
I don't got none, but anyway.
Yeah,
right along.
I wish mine would fall out. It's too hard to take care of when it gets long. But yeah,
What's some of the things that you've seen change throughout the industry as trucking, like some of the pros and cons? How about that? Like, what's some of the good things that changed? What's some of the things that you miss about trucking?
the trucks have gotten a lot more comfortable.
hmm
I mean, a lot of guys complain, but what I drove when I first started driving, it didn't even have air ride. It
Yeah.
was a spring ride, didn't have power steering. I mean, but the trucks have gotten a lot more comfortable. Most companies have refrigerators and power inverters, and a lot of them have APUs where you can be comfortable, and they ride a whole lot better than they did back then.
Yeah.
The one downside is there's a lot of drivers who went through the CDL school instead of actually learning to drive. They learned how to get their license,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
they go to work for a company, just throws them out in the truck and let them learn, and the quality of driver in a lot of ways has gone downhill.
Definitely, because I think that, and this is no knock to anybody that has a automatic restriction on their license, but I think that basically it's like I'm pretty sure like you learned in a manual,
Yeah.
and so I feel like like the trucking industry has like again, no knock to anybody, but it's gotten flooded with a lot more people because it's so much easier to get your license. So in a sense, it's like some people who don't have the automatic restriction on their license, like they could do either or, and they prefer the comfort of just driving the automatic, and they get tired of shifting gears and traffic and whatnot. But then at the same time, it kind of opens the door for any and everybody to drive a truck, so which makes it like a lot more competitive. Is that what you mean?
Well, it's not that, but anybody can do it.
Yeah.
I mean, before you had to learn to float gears, because the first truck I had, it didn't matter if you used the clutch or not.
Yeah.
The old Mac 5-speed, you couldn't shift it unless you learned to time your shifts.
Yeah.
Now, these automatics do it, and even the manuals out here shift a lot easier than those old Macs.
Yeah, floating gears, because like when you go to CDL school, I'm assuming it's the same thing in every state, because like when you go to CDL school, they don't teach you how to float gears, they teach you how to double clutch.
Yeah.
Because like when you go to the DPS or DMV, whatever they call it where you're from, they want the instructor wants to see you double clutch, but once you get out of school, you just float the gears, which is basically like just give enough gas to a certain amount of RPMs, something like 15 RPMs, you just shift gears.
Yeah.
So you don't even have to use the clutch unless you're coming to a stop or whatever.
Yeah.
Or starting the truck.
Yeah, taking off or stopping, yeah. Or backing real slow. Sometimes
So
you have to slip the clutch a little bit.
what was one of the hardest things for you when you first started trucking? Like as far as like getting out on the road, like what was like one of the things that like really that you struggled with?
Believe it or not, shifting.
Shifting?
The first truck they put me in to teach me how to drive was an old Ford, and it had a 9-speed in it.
Yeah.
And an old small Cummins. Learning how to time the shifts on that transmission, it was a pain. Once they put me in the Mac, you either learned to float or you couldn't force the gear. You had to hit the right gear at the right RPM or it didn't shift.
Gotcha.
Once I got that, then I grabbed onto how the concept of floating gears. Then I hopped back in the 9-speed and I could drive it like a pro.
Yeah.
But it took me getting into that, learning how to time my gears. So, and I see a lot of guys now out here too. Another downside is they don't teach trip planning.
Yeah, they don't
It's like,
know.
I'm out of hours and I'm 6 hours from my delivery. And the dispatcher's like, why didn't you tell me before?
Yeah.
I had one dispatcher tell me like, I'm going to be at such and such. I'll be delivering at such and such time. I'll have 6 hours left, so find me a load within 6 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how do you know when you're going to be there? I said, I know where I'm going to stop. I know where I'm going to eat. I know where I'm going to sleep. I know where I'm going to deliver. I said,
Yeah.
how? You just got to sit there and figure it out. But they don't teach that anymore.
Yeah, they don't. There's a lot of things they don't teach you. Like you said, like CDL schools nowadays, like they're 3 weeks long. They just ship. They just give us the money, 3 weeks time. Here's your CDL. Get up there on the road. Because when I went to CDL school, I remember I ran towards it because I really wanted this career. Like my son was my motivation. So I didn't have time for jokes or playing games, none of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like if I was in CDL school and people was talking too much, I tended to veer off and do my own thing because I passed one and done, which is what I wanted to do. Like I never failed nothing as far as the pre-trip and all those little tests you take, the preliminaries before you take the actual driving test. But I've noticed how, the the same people who seem to play around and bullshit and hee and ha ha and on their phone when it's supposed to be practicing their maneuvers, those are the ones who struggle and fail when you get to the DPS test. So like my big thing advice I want to give you guys is like, you know, run towards it. The things that you struggle with, whether it's parallel, whether it's whatever, run towards it versus shying away from it. Like when I was in class and I see their bullshit, no, they really want to say, I'll take your turn. Because I'm trying to get my license and get the hell on down the road. I'm not trying to play around.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. See, if more people took that attitude to it, there would be a whole lot better group of truckers out here.
Yeah.
Instead of just looking at it like it's a job. You know, when I started it's a lifestyle.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a career. I mean, you know, I'm proud to do what I do.
Definitely take pride in it, especially with flatbed. You know, like somebody made a comment on Facebook. Oh, well, Ted says if you don't drive flatbed, the channel ain't for you. Shout out D from Truck World, by the way. But no, like, I don't really, like last week I interviewed somebody who does reefer. You know, I want to interview people who do dry van. You've done it all?
I've done everything but tanker, cows.
Yeah, bull hauling.
Yeah, I haven't done doubles or
Triples,
log hauling, stuff like that. But I've done refrigerated, I've done dry van, flatbed, chickens. if it could put on a truck, I probably have pulled it at one point or time.
So out of all the trailers that you've driven, which one do you like the most and why?
The freight we haul here, I like it because of the customers.
Yeah.
You're hauling a flatbed, they ordered this stuff, they're wanting this stuff. When you hit their property, they're wanting to get it off the trailer.
Yeah.
It's not like refrigerated. You're hauling groceries to a grocery warehouse, and there's going to be a lumber service that's going to take, oh no, we got to unload you. Well, yeah, that's your job.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll see you in 6 or 7 hours. You know, go ahead and take a nap.
Yeah. I've heard that with reefer. I've never driven reefer. My first CDL job was actually for a beer company. Shout out the Craft Brewery out there in Everett, Massachusetts. It's like right outside of Boston. And then besides that, I've just done flatbed. So you said reefer?
I've done reefer, 3 different companies.
Yeah.
But that's, if I leave flatbed, that's what I'm going back to.
Reefer.
Because everybody's got to eat.
Yeah.
And a lot of cheap food comes in frozen packages.
Yeah.
So you need a refrigerated trailer.
Gotcha.
It's just, you got to deal with the grocery warehouses.
I've heard like reefers seem for whatever reason to have like a longer sit time than most other.
Yeah, because you're working in, sometimes those freezer places are 10 below.
Yeah.
These guys are running around in snowmobile suits on you know, and they get cold. They got to go warm up here and there. So
yeah.
I wouldn't want to be in there for all that time. That's all you do all day long is sit in a 10 degree below zero refrigerator, you know.
So do you have your passport, by the way?
I have my passport card, yeah.
So you've gone to Canada, like out of the country with loads?
Mm-hmm. I've been as far east as St. John's, Newfoundland.
Of where?
St. John's, Newfoundland.
Newfoundland.
How do you
Newfoundland?
They say Newfoundland. It's Newfoundland. Yeah, 7 hour ferry boat from Nova Scotia to Newfoundland.
Yeah.
And then a 500 and some mile drive all the way around the island to deliver.
So, that's crazy because like I got a video I made that I'm probably gonna drop, if not today, throughout the course of this week. Where like I actually did a 34 in San Diego, and I went to Mexico. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know that. I just found out recently that you could you don't need a passport to walk across the border. You can just take your driver's license and you can get across the border. So I went to Tijuana. So I recorded while I was down there. So I'm definitely gonna be sharing that with you guys. But I just want to see like what's one of the more exotic places you've been besides Newfoundland or Newfoundland, however you say it.
I've been to all 48 states. I've been out in the woods so far. You didn't have self-service or nothing. You were out there all on your own.
Yeah.
Maine, go all the way up into the northern part of Maine.
Yeah.
It's a totally different world up there.
It really is. That's one thing I like about trucking is like you get to see different things that like I normally wouldn't have seen. Assuming I never left where I was from or whatever. I mean, I was traveled before I started driving or whatnot, but like it's like I would fly to destinations. I'm not driving to destinations, so like I'm not seeing the mountains, I'm not seeing the desert, I'm not seeing the swamps, I'm not seeing, like the bigger like areas of woods or whatever. Like you're talking about like Newfoundland, like Washington State is beautiful. You know, like I've heard about Seattle, but I never knew about like Snoqualmie Pass. What do you call it?
Yeah, Snoqualmie.
Yeah, it's beautiful out there.
Until it snows.
Until this is actually my first winter coming up as an OTR driver, so I'm looking forward to sharing that experience with you guys. I'm definitely gonna be recording a bunch of stuff, but like it is definitely something I'm anticipating. So, what advice would you give to somebody who's driving into the winter for the first time, doing OTR?
Just watch your speed.
Your speed.
Yeah, because that. But there are times when you're getting ready to hit a hill, you need a little bit more speed so that way you don't get halfway up the hill and lose traction and stall.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to have to be sitting on the side of the road putting a set of chains on so you can get up the rest of the way up the hill.
Yeah.
But yeah, and if you don't feel like chaining, don't go.
Gotcha.
You know, don't put yourself in a bad situation. That freight can always get there
Yes.
a little late.
Yeah. Yeah.
Better than being upside down
Definitely.
in a ditch or totaled into another truck or whatever.
Now it's way worse than late. Now you know what I'm saying, you miss around and be out of a job,
Yeah.
or so you know what I'm saying. Like God forbid you lose your life or hurt yourself or somebody else. You know, so yeah, definitely want that to happen. So I really appreciate that advice.
Yeah, that's. I mean, if all else fails, park it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I even on ice, I'll park it. I don't mess with ice.
Yeah.
Snow, I don't mind.
Yeah.
I can throw a set of chains on a truck and drive through bumper deep snow. I have no problem. But ice, I don't mess with.
What would you say is the worst area to drive in? Like, cause like this man has 30 years experience, mind you. He's been doing this for a long time. What would you say is the worst area to drive in the wintertime?
The middle part of the country.
The middle part, like Midwest?
Like the Kansas, Iowa, because they get either ice or snow, or they'll get a bunch of ice and then snow on top of it.
Yeah.
And Indiana, some of the worst roads I've ever driven on was Indiana because they got a bunch of snow, and then they plowed it, but it was like somebody went out there with a Zamboni and polished it,
Yeah.
and it was so slick that the wind would blow and you could feel your truck getting pushed off the side of the road. At least out here, out west, the roads get bad, they'll close them.
Yeah.
So you park and you sit. So Wyoming is horrible.
That's I-80, right?
Hmm?
I-80?
I-80, yeah. The wind is ungodly. I personally think they should change their motto of their state because it just blows here. Because that's you'll get shut down if you're under 35,000 pounds in the trailer. They'll shut you down because it'll blow you over.
Wow, that's definitely something to think about.
And
Because
then when you get all that snow blowing across, it just gets so icy and crazy. That's why you see the 80, 90 car pileups out in Wyoming is because people are driving like maniacs on ice, and then once one wreck happens, everybody else comes.
I've seen that. I've never. I wish there was some wood. There's some wood, but I'm not gonna later. But I've never been. I've never been on the wreck. I've never had a pileup. I want to keep it that way. So I definitely appreciate the advice and the tips. So what's one of the places or some of the places where like you love to drive? Like that's what you hate. Like what do you love to drive in?
Out west.
Are you like the West Coast?
Oh, not just the West Coast, but they run me a lot east to west.
Yeah.
And I'll go up through Montana. I love Montana is beautiful.
Yeah.
Except for when it's icy and snow. But,
Montana in the summertime.
yeah, and I believe it or not, the Dakotas. I like the Dakotas.
I haven't touched the Dakotas yet. I haven't been to all 48 yet, but I've been to, let's say, about 30 of them. But I haven't been like the North Dakota, South Dakota. I've touched through Montana, but like made a quick, exit.
Yeah.
But I haven't like really like just gone through the whole thing.
Oh yeah, a lot of times I'll get bored with Montana and then I'll run 80 and then cut up through Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of Oregon is really beautiful too.
Yeah.
So, but I love Montana.
So you basically somebody like the Northwest.
Yeah,
More so.
Well, I love Montana, and Idaho's not bad because there's only a short on the Panhandle.
Yeah.
But once you get into Washington, you gotta go so slow.
Yeah, just like California, for example.
Yeah.
Like I said again, like we're in Rancho Cucamonga, California, and like California. When I first started driving, a lot of people stressed their hatred for California because like it's strict here as far as like trucking goes. Like it's hard to find parking and whatnot. Like the truck stops are always full. And there's a 55-mile-per-hour speed limit. But a lot of people never told me about, I don't like Pennsylvania. On the East Coast coming into Pennsylvania, like the West Virginia or whatever, like the speed limit's 55, drops down to 45, but like you're on hills going downhill, with a 45-mile-per-hour speed limit, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Or yeah, or I'm pulling on a light load if you're going through parts of Montana over by, Butte.
Yeah.
You're going down what they call Homestake Pass.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pulling 10,000 pounds. They want you down to 25 miles an hour.
Yeah,
and the cars are 75. They're coming at
yeah,
you 50 miles an hour faster than what you're traveling.
that's
Don't
crazy.
tell me that's nuts. I mean, and if you're hauling a light load, it's hard to stay at 25 because your Jake brake's pulling you down too much.
Yeah,
And it's like, go by the weight, like it does when you're going in Oregon. They want you to go, if you're over this much weight, you're supposed to go this speed, and if you're over this much weight, it's a little bit slower. You know, like Cabbage. I don't know if you've been through Cabbage Pass.
yes, I have been through caps.
And
Yes,
they have it like an advised speed based on what your weight is.
gotcha. Yeah,
That's what they need down in some of these places because I'm light. I don't have a problem with slowing down with my engine brake, you know? So
gotcha. So let me ask you this: so, is there any advice that you have for people who just got their CDL? They're trying to figure out their path. They're trying to figure out their way. Like, what advice would you give to a brand new truck driver?
don't be afraid to ask a question.
I agree with
And
that.
don't. I've been doing this many years. I don't know it all. I'll still go out there and talk to a driver. I'll learn something new. Don't be afraid to learn something new. Don't ever think you know it all.
Definitely.
There's so many drivers after 3 or 4 years. Oh, I don't need your help. You know, they'll get cocky, and then, well, that's the ones usually that fail. You don't mind asking a question or asking for help or advice.
Yeah,
Well, there are some grumpy old drivers out there that just because you haven't been driving as long as they are, they get a little attitude.
yeah.
But they have to remember what it was like to be a fresh driver trying to figure out how to do this.
Definitely. That really pisses me off because it's like you're basically shitting on somebody who's asking you for help, but we're all out here on the road together. You know, like I said, I want to interview all types of drivers. I don't care if you're a drive-in, reefer, flatbed, hot shot, team, owner operator. You can drive for the Russians. It's all the same to me. You know what I'm saying? We're out here on these roads together and whatnot. And I'm definitely very humble when it comes to this. You know, like and I put this channel out here because when I got my CDL, I had a bunch of questions. And so it seemed like a lot of the channels I was coming across on YouTube were all know-it-alls. You know, like I didn't have too many people like myself who were humble, who were asking questions, who were trying to figure it out. It seemed like everybody else already knew what to do. You know, so I give my experience, but I also want to give his experience. And so that's about it. Is there anything else that you want to tell the drivers?
No, well, as far as the experience, I mean, I came into flatbed when I was in my mid-50s.
Yeah.
I've only been here a little over 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Flatbed I did was the chickens, and then I did glass with another Dasky company that got merged with Wiley. That's the only open deck I've ever done. When I came here, another guy who recruited me, I was constantly texting him, what's your opinion of how I should do this? How should I do that? I was basically a rookie when I started flatbedding, a rookie
Yes.
flatbedder. But now I'm helping others that are out there, and that's the way SPD is here. A lot of times you'll be out there tarping a load or whatever, and another driver will walk up there and start helping you. They don't even ask. They'll just jump in and help
Yeah.
because we're a family here.
Definitely, man.
And then they'll give you advice. When I first started here, I had a stack of business cards from a bunch of drivers. Hey man, if you ever need advice or help or something you've never done before, give me a call. Well, maybe give me a text first, so that way I know you're calling. Yeah, so they didn't. But yeah, everybody was willing to help everybody here.
Yeah.
And it's a good family here.
Definitely a nice company, man. Thanks a lot, Tom.
You're welcome, man.
All right, so that was it. We're signing out. All you guys, be safe, drive safe, get to the money, get home to your families. Y'all be good, stay safe, stay blessed. Peace.